The story is Josh Hawley and his recent being dropped from a Florida luxury hotel. And this, in the latest string of events, recently Josh Hawley had his publishing dropped from Simon & Schuster for a upcoming book that was to be published on the tech industry. And of course, we believe, those of us who are from Missouri and witnessing Josh Hawley over the last few years, we understand that he is indeed a ladder climbing, conservative politician who is trying to inherit the Trump movement, the 70 million plus who had supported Donald Trump. We don't have an accurate measurement right now of where that support is currently, but I suspect that it's still pretty high. There are many people who, even despite the events of last week in the Capitol and all of the subsequent fallout, there are many people who still vow to support Trump to the end. There are some who, as I've talked in my other videos on the Trump prophets, still believe to this day, to this moment, that Trump is not done yet, that somehow he will remain in office for a second term. It's getting harder and harder to sustain such an argument, but that's what's going on. And so Josh Hawley is clearly waiting in the wings to inherit the Trump movement. And so, of course, part of that process is to publish a book as you run for president. Josh Hawley is a very brilliant person. He is very well educated. He despite fighting for Missouri as he claims to do, he is definitely an elite Ivy League graduate, constitutional lawyer, and in short, what I would say, one who knows better. So he has cast his lot, so to speak, with the Trump movement and to defend it. He knows, as a constitutional lawyer, he is very well aware that there's no legal basis for any of the claims that Trump made, but he knows that this is low-hanging fruit to climb the political ladder. So we know this. So let's take a quick little look at this week's most recent unfolding. And I'll just do this old teacher style by showing you a presentation. And so here you see a flyer for Josh Hawley's fundraising event, which of course isn't taking place in Missouri. It's taking place in sunny Florida. Join Josh Hawley for a fun-filled, family-friendly Orlando weekend event, February 12th through 15th. And of course, you can get in for a low price of $5,000 or $3,000 as a pack attendee. Or if you just want to go for yourself, you can go at $1,000 per person or $1,500 per couple. This is So this was the event that was planned, and obviously this event didn't happen. And so Lowe's Hotels is the luxury hotels that the event was planned to take place at. Tweeted out earlier today that we are horrified and opposed to the events at the Capitol and all who supported and incited the actions. In light of those events and for the safety of our guests and team members, we have informed the host of the February fundraiser that it will no longer be held at Lowe's Hotels. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Now, you'll notice in here that there's no mention, of course, of Josh Hawley, but we just sort of can do the math here. And so again, another big sponsor of Josh Hawley's on a personal level here in Missouri withdrew his support publicly. That happened this week. And also Hallmark, apparently one of his corporate donors, withdrew their support for Josh Hawley. Now, of course, the thing that I'm interested in from this news story and that needs to be discussed is this in fact detrimental to Josh Hawley's presidential aspirations or continued political aspirations or not? Will his Faustian bargain with Trumpism, and the whole white nationalist evangelical movement behind this sacred cow pay off for Hawley. And so one of the things I'm thinking of is, of course, one of the things that's very characteristic of Trumpism is to play the victim. And of course, they're throwing a lot of the words around that they appropriate words for, they appropriate words like cancel culture. And just as Trump appropriated the words fake news, which used to mean something, it used to indicate stories that lacked journalistic integrity. That's neither a right nor a left issue. But of course, that came to mean anyone who contradicts whatever lies Trump would come up with. And of course, being a very well-educated constitutional lawyer, Josh Hawley, I call it a Faustian bargain, deal with the devil, decided that he wanted to, use and try to gain political capital from that movement. He knows exactly what he is doing, and not everybody in Missouri is fooled by this. I think, and my hope is that the result of a lot of what's going on recently will not allow Josh to do what he has been doing, and that's another issue. You can sort of discern the integrity of someone's actions or their intentions by their actions in a moments of crisis, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But when we look at what happened at the nation's capital, the attack on the nation's capital by insurrectionists and some seditionists. They were not Antifa, as some people claim. Even if there was one person there that was Antifa, this was a Trump movement, 100%. And later on, of course, Trump can disavow all of this, the violence and that sort of thing. But it's generally done in a wink-wink sort of way. The most pushback we've seen was the most recent video after Trump was unplugged. Now, the question that remains here is, will this appeal to being a martyr and being a victim of censorship and that sort of thing play in the favor of someone like Trump and Josh Hawley, or will it actually, further convince the public that, these guys are just, playing this martyr card, and they in fact, deserve this fallout that's happening. Trump supporters are often, not all. So if you're a Trump supporter, I'm certainly not trying to say that every single one of you are the same, but the hardcore members have a very, very, they're very likely to denounce anything that's contrary to their position. I mean, the lengths to which some people go to deflect from some pretty blatant and easy one, like, easy softball, like this is a lie, are astounding at times. Now, of course, in the realm of politics, you will hear people say, well, what about Biden, or what about Hillary, or what about, the whataboutism is basically an argument of deflection. So when you have to argue what about someone else, that is not a good argument against your own position. So if somebody you support is lying and or takes an action that is questionable, you have to make a decision on a personal level. It's not the politician made their decision, but you have to make a decision whether or not you're going to allow yourself, out of wanting to protect the things that you do believe in, that you have in common with that politician, be it Trump or any Hawley or anyone else, or Biden. You have to make a decision whether or not you as an individual, sovereign human being, a constituent, whether you will just go along with everything, or whether you will say, yeah, that's definitely a lie. And the most that I see Trump supporters do is say, he's vulgar, he doesn't always say things the way that, I would say them, but, and there's always that, there's the whataboutism, and then there's the but. So in this case, what I'm interested in learning about is, and seeing how this unfolds is, will this actually hurt Josh Hawley in the end, or will it project him forward because Trumpism isn't going away? Will he inherit Trumpism? Because I'm doubtful that Ted Cruz, who also falls into this category, but he's been around for a lot longer and unlikely to inherit the Trump movement. I doubt it. But someone like Josh Hawley, I could see sliding in there, and he's, like I said, very slick, very intelligent. I can everyone who knows about him knows that he's trying to position himself for such a thing. So time will tell what's going to happen. Will Josh Hawley inherit this, the wave of Trumpism, which isn't going away? Will he continue to push harder? Because let's remember one thing. Trump may not have won a second term here, but his movement is still very much with us. There are still, we don't have a measurement of how much of that 70 million voters that supported Trump are still with him. But I'm guessing it's still a large percentage, given the political climate and given what we see, in the media. So that's where I'm at on it. I think that I'm certainly not sad that this event was canceled. I think, it could, for example, if an entity was giving money to Josh Hawley, I question them in the first place. I don't believe that corporations should be pouring money into, I don't believe in PACs and super PACs. I'm definitely against Citizens United. And I think anybody who is concerned about voter fraud should also be concerned about Citizens United and dark money in politics. But it's just so strange that those who are concerned about the integrity of elections, there's crickets whenever it comes to big money and large corporate donors. And people like Josh Hawley going to Florida to raise tons of money. I think that you can't really have integrity in your position talking about wanting to secure elections when you turn a blind eye to one of the greatest. If there's voter fraud, what's fraudulent in our system is big money determining elections and determining who's even running in the first place. So let's keep that in mind. But if you are interested in more videos like this, I did a recent video on the Trump prophecies of those who believe that that God said that Trump is going to be a second term, and that's why some are still pushing that button. And then most recently, one of the questions that's arisen is it worth it to impeach Donald Trump, which has already happened, but is it worth it now for the Senate to go ahead and convict? And you see even Democrats sort of soft pedaling this now, wanting to back up. Well, it'll affect, Biden's first 100 days of office and that sort of thing. Is that the truth? So there's a video here that will come up at the end of this one. Please check that out. That talks about, will Trump get a second term? And the only way to prevent Trump from running again, one of the biggest ways would be for the Senate to go ahead forward with a conviction and then to vote on not allowing him to hold public office again. Now, what does this do for Hawley? Who knows? Maybe that helps him too and inherits it. But doing nothing is probably even worse. So I have mixed feelings about corporations that, are swayed by public opinion to make a choice, because we know at the end it's all about what their earnings, and it's not necessarily about their integrity. So with that said, we will see. It remains to be seen. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot.